The prevailing narrative is a calculated diversion. Media fixates on hypersonic missile tests, treating warfare as a linear progression of speed and explosive yield. This is obsolete. The kinetic cost of a symmetric launch-on-warning exchange is economically prohibitive and strategically unsound. The real vector of attack is not a missile. It is silence. The entire architecture of Western power, financial markets, military command and control, the flow of public information, runs through a network of undersea fiber optic cables. These are the arteries of the global system. According to analysts at CSYS, securing this subsea infrastructure is now a primary strategic imperative. Its neutralization is the cornerstone of asymmetric warfare. A superpower stripped of its subsea data and satellite vision becomes a blind leviathan. Immense kinetic power, zero situational awareness. It cannot confirm targeting data, cannot execute financial transactions, cannot communicate with its global assets. It is a giant, thrashing in the dark, systemically isolated and facing a liquidity crisis in its own command structure. The motive is never ideology. It is solvency. According to analysis from the Financial Times, U.S. banks are being pressured to address unsustainable credit card rates. This is not a banking story. It is a national security signal. It is a mathematical indicator of deteriorating domestic solvency, where the populace is leveraged to the breaking point. A nation this fragile internally cannot sustain a protracted, symmetric military conflict. This is not a theoretical model. We have a precedent. CSIS analysis frames the Russian invasion not as a war of choice, but as a forced maneuver driven by a domestic solvency crisis. Faced with mounting internal liabilities and the specter of an unpopular long-term symmetric war, the state's calculus shifted. The kinetic operation became a vector to consolidate power and re-engineer the economic reality at home. It was an act of economic survival disguised as geopolitical ambition. Simultaneously, the core asset of a legacy superpower, expensive, symmetric military dominance, is being systemically devalued. Ukraine's successful use of strategic neutralization, documented by NATO's own Transformation Command, proves that cheap, asymmetric systems can defeat high kinetic cost platforms. While the West debates budgets, adversaries like China are perfecting the blueprint, with ION reporting on new mass-produced drone swarm tests. The cost-benefit analysis of conventional warfare has been permanently inverted. The mathematical certainty of strategic collapse is not found in wargaming scenarios. It is found on the balance sheet. According to analysts at the Royal United Services Institute, RUSAI, the kinetic cost of a modern main battle tank, the backbone of symmetric land power, is approximately $5 million. The cost of the asymmetric weapon system now proven to neutralize it, a small, first-person view drone, is $500. This is not a 2-to-1 or 10-to-1 advantage. It is a 10,000-to-1 cost-imposition ratio. This is the democratization of violence, the terminal collapse of the barrier to entry for inflicting strategic-level damage. As Ukraine's warfighting experience informs NATO's new doctrine, the old model of attrition is dead. A nation struggling with internal solvency, where unsustainable consumer debt signals a contracting ability to fund its own government, cannot afford to trade $5 million assets for $500 threats. Every exchange is a net drain on a fracturing treasury. This economic liability makes protracted symmetric conflict a mathematical impossibility. The media presents regional instability as a series of isolated crises. This is a deliberate misdirection. These zones of unrest, whether flagged by intelligence warnings in nations like Canada or materializing as supply chain disruptions off South Africa, are not the cause of systemic risk. They are proxy laboratories. In these gray zones, a new strategic calculus is being field-tested and proven. The lessons are clear. From Ukraine, the blueprint for strategic neutralization is reshaping modern warfare, a fact now being urgently absorbed into NATO's transformation discussions. From China, we see public footage of PLA drone swarm tests, proving the delivery system for low-cost, high-impact attrition. This is not about territory. It is about mathematics. CSSIS reports confirm the objective is to validate a new kinetic cost curve. Adversaries use these laboratories to prove they can neutralize expensive symmetric assets at an asymmetric discount. They are attacking the economic foundation of Western military doctrine, knowing its solvency is already compromised. The domestic accelerant is the consumer solvency crisis, evidenced by reports from the Financial Times on the unsustainability of U.S. credit card debt. A nation that cannot afford its interest payments cannot fund a protracted, high-attrition conflict. These proxy laboratories are designed to force a zero-sum choice upon a weakened state. Accept a death by 1,000 cuts you cannot afford, or trigger a launch-on warning protocol of asymmetric escalation. They are not watching the instability. They are measuring the response time. The vector of attack is systemic fragility. The Financial Times flags the predicate condition, a consumer solvency crisis. An economy with no shock absorption is a strategic liability. This vulnerability is not a bug. It is a feature to be exploited. An adversary weaponizes this by engineering an economic disruption, forcing a choice between domestic stability and foreign escalation. The test event must be attribution impossible. Plausible deniability is the protocol. Analysis of PL. A-drone swarm doctrines and asymmetric warfare studies from CSYS indicates the target will be a logistical or data choke point, not a warship. The objective is to measure the lag time between system failure and command response, and to quantify the resulting economic hemorrhage.